So, I know I mentioned today's sponsor, which is, I gotta give a shout out to nobody. I was supposed to have Kevin Hart was supposed to, hook me up with a sponsorship, but he left me on red. So without further ado, this podcast is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasts. It's an amazing platform. Anybody who wants to create a podcast or already are a podcaster, check them out. Really great tool for you. You can edit, create your own episodes, and it's all at your fingertips. And like I said, the purpose for this episode, is to spice things up. Like you do in the bedroom or on your food. We're trying to have some little fun here. So, I want to ask you too. Just to switch a little bit because I mentioned this to you, and it goes into this whole belief thing.
Hmm.
Paranormal activity, aliens. There's a community of people out there who believe in aliens, and I'll be the first to admit I'm still very skeptical on people who said they've encountered UFOs and stuff. And the reason why it came up, so I had a conversation last week with a friend. He sent me a TikTok video. This dude who does he's not a big YouTuber, but he uploaded a video that made the public news in Las Vegas about how him, his dad, his mother, and his brother heard a loud. They saw like this blue light, flying in the sky and land in their backyard crash. And they went to go inspect it, and they saw this 10-foot alien that somehow was hiding behind this little, pickup truck. And they saw it and they ran, and they recorded the whole thing, but there was a lot of information missing. Or I should say footage missing. They called the police and everything, and I think that's how they got onto the news because the police picked up and all that stuff. And I will say I watched the video. It was a blue light and stuff like that, but it did start a conversation on aliens. Like I said, there's people who believe in it, and regardless if I don't believe it or not, I do respect everybody. Because like I said, there's some people might say I never saw a ghost. Yeah, talking nonsense. But how do you feel about aliens? Because I do think there are other life forms out there.
Yeah.
The ocean is one of the most un discovered places on Earth. We're not able to go all the way down as far as the Mariana Trench and other parts of water. How do you think about aliens? What do you think about that type of stuff?
I believe that there are aliens. I think it is uh what's the word I'm looking for? You have to excuse me. I have brain farts quite often now, my old age. I think it's arrogant to think that we're the only life form in the universe. I also think that the Bible kind of describes alien life being here. And they did it in the only way they knew how. They didn't have words for spaceship back then. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't even have word for an airplane back then. So they described it the best they knew. Um, I used to be very more in tune with the characters in the Bible, but there is a part where it talks about the chariots of fire and the rings inside of rings, and you have to go and read it. I think a lot of our historical paintings showed alien aircraft in the background. Um, so like I said, they didn't know how to depict those things.
Right.
I think a lot of Egyptian art has depictions of aliens. I often wonder if we're not some kind of reality show from an alien planet. The and I believe that people like President Reagan had kind of put the hint out there that the government knows about alien life. I think they have made contact. I think they have alien aircraft. They, I mean, why are all these documents so redacted? Everything's marked out. You can't. And why are they hiding it? I mean, yeah, at one point I could see why that the people would freak out, but I think we've come to the point where we've seen it so much, we're kind of desensitized to it. We should be able to be mature enough to know the truth. And
Yeah.
they've come out and they've actually admitted to it, but it's not making the news. Everybody's worried about politics and all that other garbage, which I don't want to get into at all. Um, but why aren't we talking more about this?
No, you made a good point. First of all, I got to say, I feel like this is an episode of Joe Rogan Experience because I know he often talks about stuff like this. But you know what? I think the whole concept of aliens and stuff, I think it really became popular because of what Marvel and some of these other major movies are doing, where they're doing multiverses. Where they showing different life forms, other planets, and other life outside of Earth. And I think for me, I've always believed, or I would say, especially when I in college and on, I really started to believe that there's other life forms out there that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just came that apparently Mars, I think humans can only live on there for like 4 years because the climate, but there's other planets we don't know about that's not
Mm-hmm.
in our Milky Way, our galaxy. There's I'm pretty sure there's other life forms. Now, the only thing I'm skeptical on is people who claim to see UFOs and stuff like that. Not because I think it's ridiculous, but more so, and I was telling my buddy this. It's like, all right, let's say the guy in question, the one with the YouTube TikTok video that blew up. How is it that the government, hasn't investigated if, because the government can pick up every little thing. There's been times where they saw, a big flying, thing in space and they thought it was a spaceship and it turned out to be like an asteroid or whatever. But they have found some unidentified aircrafts in space before. But how's, it's 2023. How is it that nobody's ever been able to capture at least a picture or something? I think of this stuff kind of, when I hear, people talking about their stories. I don't know if you remember Slender Man. Do you remember that whole, thing with Slender Man? It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that where people was, saying, he was alive and Bigfoot was alive, and it turned out, Slender Man, the dude's buddy was the dude's buddy was on stilts wearing a tuxedo. I'm like, it's stuff like that. Now, I do think, like I said, that the government has come in contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably afraid to tell people because they don't want people to freak out. But I do want to ask you, do you think people have, like ordinary people, do you, when you hear like UFO stories and people seeing aliens, around their neighborhood, do you think that's true? Or do you think some of it could be true? It's just people haven't been able to get the evidence.
Man, with the time that we're living in, you have a camera with you almost all the time with your cell phone,
Agreed.
and you can capture a bird flying across the sky. And I've seen videos of airplanes going across the sky. Why can't we get a picture of a UFO going across the sky? Maybe there are people that have, and once again, in this day and age, AI has really become a big part of our lives, and people don't realize it. When you put up a video on YouTube, there's an AI that picks up every word that you say, and if your video says something that they don't like, that's how they shut you down. That's how you get a strike. You don't have
Right.
somebody that sits there and watches your video before it gets uploaded. That would take forever and a day because millions of people upload to YouTube all the time. Same thing when you're on social media. AI picks up everything that you do. And so if you try to put something up like that, maybe the AI is picking up on it and not allowing you to put the real stuff up. Maybe they're only allowing certain things that make you doubt, you know, that blurry video is going to make it to where an actual perfectly looking video won't make it. if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So these ones that claim that they see an alien walking across their yard, I find that hard to believe. I mean, an intelligent being is not going to want to check out your barbecue pit, I don't think, or your pickup truck. um, but I do, however, believe that there is an alien that owns social media, and his name's Mark Zuckerberg. He's a
I'm pleading
reptilian.
the
Sweet baby Rays, sweet baby Rays, sweet baby Rays.
Mark this podcast is over. As soon as it's Instagram and Facebook, it's over. Delete.
Yep. Sorry, man.
It's all right. Hey, man. For me, it's one of those things. We had like a hour-long conversation about that, and one of the things I do agree with him on is we don't know what these aliens look like. We don't know if they look like us. What they look like. What type of environment it was on. But I got into a whole thing with him. I was like, it would be interesting how people see these type of aliens, and we're assuming that they can. I use the Superman reference, and I know he's a fictional superhero, but Superman was someone from another country, another planet who came to Earth, and he had superpowers because his environment allowed him to do things in our environment that he wouldn't be able to do in his home country, home planet. But I say, if people see these type of aliens, what is to say that they are able to breathe the same way we are? That right. Gravity won't affect them? Because the other day I was watching a series, and scientists, not scientists, the people that go in space, astronauts, people who do that line of work, who live in who live in space shuttles for 6 months. One of the things they talk about, being out in space for 6 months and then coming back, to Earth, it's a whole completely different experience. We don't think about it like that, but for them, when they come back down from Earth, from space, the slightest movement can, disrupt, rupture the spine. They have to readjust to gravity again. And I think, that's one of the things too I think about. It's like, how's, people see these type of, aliens, and it's usually the green ones, the ones we see in cartoons and stuff, which I'm not saying they don't exist. I just don't think that that's what, when I think of aliens or other life forms, I don't think that they're just these green little creatures with, egg-shaped heads and big beady black eyes. I think there's a little more diversity in what they look like. But even then, I watch these videos. I'm like, so you're telling me you see a 10-foot alien, and Shaq is what, 7'3" or something. Shaq, he's a big dude. You ain't gonna miss Shaq. Right. He's not someone who's gonna hide behind a pickup truck. You're gonna see him. So you're gonna tell me, and again, I'm not trying to make fun of him or anything, but how does a 10-foot being disappear behind a pickup truck that I can stand behind and easily see over? It's stuff like that. And then, you claiming that the spaceship landed in your backyard, but you don't got no footage of that. You seen this big thing walking in your backyard, but there's no footprints. There's no evidence that a spaceship even landed in your backyard. Like, that's the thing that puzzles me is, when we see these type of footages, and even like for you, when you talk about, some of these paranormal people who have these TV shows, it's blatantly obvious it's fake. Someone's, doing stuff to make it look real, knocking on the wall, throwing stuff on the floor, maybe playing a little soundtrack, a little scream in another room to make it seem like, there's a ghost in town. Like you said, we have cell phones. We capture everything from the food we eat to the bird on the corner, to many things. How is it possible, with cameras, with phones, with, security systems, have nobody's been able to find or produce at least a picture or something of this? But you know what? One of the things I do agree with you on is AI, because I think a lot of times people are using AI to digitally alter videos, to
Mhm.
make it appear that these things are happening. And I tell people, you may not think it, but technology is advanced now. You can do stuff like that without a blink of an eye. People do it all the time, and
Mhm.
you got to be careful with that type of stuff because, not to get too much into it, but I will say there was a story I heard about this guy from, I think, Canada. He kind of this happened this year. The video was unbelievably stupid. I mean, the whole TikTok series he did was just, it was just mind blowing fake. But tell me this, Kyle.
Mhm.
Let's say you're driving on the highway. You with your buddy, your wife, or whatever. You're driving on the highway, and let's say there's a big old mountain, miles and miles away, right?
Mhm.
Do you think it's possible that a person who is in a passenger seat on the highway is able to find an alien on top of a mountain that far away and zoom in and capture that? Like it just reeks of crap, And like I said, I'm not trying to put
Yeah.
nobody down from it, but his whole TikTok video was, he did a series where he discovered that, and then the FBI was onto him because he found the discovery, and then he went missing. He put out like a video of, he was on a wall, like a hostage video, looking over to the camera, off camera all the time, and it was clearly fake. And I was telling my buddy, I was like, "Come on, if you watch this, first of all, do you think the FBI, the CIA, is going to be that sloppy to let you put a blatantly fake TikTok video on there? I think so many people are, like you said, are using other people's beliefs for views and money, and I think
Of
that's one of
course.
the problems. Whether it's paranormal activity or aliens, people are making these fake videos, and getting people's hopes up for what? They don't believe in it. They're just doing it for money, for viewership, and it's hurting the cause because the day that it does happen when aliens do show up, people aren't going to believe it. It's just another one of those guys who's just trying to go viral. And I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest problem.
Well, see, the crazy thing is, I interviewed a guy who was in on the groundbreaking of AI, and the way things were done back then was still incredible, but the way it's advanced to now, you're going to have, let's say somebody decides that they're going to take a politician and have this politician say something to start a war or to piss off everybody in the country. They can make it look just like that person is saying these words. it's
Yeah.
it's it's incredible, and it's going to get even further advanced where you're not even going to be able to tell it's fake. See, right now you're still, with enough investigating, or you can figure out if it's fake or not. I mean, look at the movies. There's some movies when you see somebody fly across the sky, it looks like they're really flying.
Yeah.
It's you believe that there's a creature out there that looks like this. It's getting further and further advanced all the time. So you're going to get to the point where you don't know what's real and what's fake. And as far as people seeing the aliens in their backyard and all that, I still would say that the aliens are going to, with their advanced technology, they're going to be a little stealthier than that. I think they can probably land in a field and you not even know they're there.
Right.
So I find it far fetched that you've captured a picture of an alien walking across the mountain, and you're miles away. I just think that's going to be fake.
When I'm gonna send you a video so you can watch it. It's blatantly. I think, like I said, when you're preying on some people's beliefs, they're going to, naturally, there's going to some people who's going to believe it. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I'm like, look at it objectively. Like, just watch the series of TikToks he's done. It just don't make sense first of all, like I said, even if it was true, let's say he was telling true, the FBI, the CIA, because apparently it was the CIA, he was saying that was after him. They're not going to be letting you videotape them. They're not going to put you on camera and let you put on the internet like a hostage negotiation. They're not that sloppy. They're just not going to do that. And this guy, I think his whole thing, I feel like he was probably suffering mental illness. I'm not trying to make fun of that at all. But then he just disappeared. I think the last video he did a video of him, like I said, on the wall like a hostage, recanting his TikToks, and then he did another video like a week later in the dark of his house, talking about the CIA is after me. I made it all. It's true, and then he just like disappears off the internet. I don't know what happened with him, but it's people like him. And like I said, I'm not trying to make fun of him because maybe he really did believe in
He
that.
might be schizophrenic though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's why I'm not trying to be too, I'm not trying to be mean about it because I've met people who have, I've worked with, people with mental illness and they do believe what they see. And that could have been for him too. But my problem wasn't with him, but it's the other ones who are saying people who are doing this stuff for views. But AI is a big thing. I was having this conversation at the park when I was working out a couple weeks ago. You remember that movie I, Robot with Will Smith?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's crazy to think that movie was what, about 20 years ago, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. That movie, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, those movies are based off advanced technology.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that was, utter garbage. That's never going to happen. And look what's happening now. You have AI. The other day, I didn't, I had my ears to the ground a little bit, but I wasn't too into AI. I saw people doing the stuff on Instagram, but I went on Snapchat the other day. I had my streaks going, and I saw the AI chat box there. So you know what? Let me give this a whirl. Let me see. Let me see what the power of AI is. And everything I asked it, every question I had, I even asked it random hypotheticals between like Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali, and it knew, besides that, but it knew everything. It can access everything. It's mind blowing to think that that technology is here. And like I say, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, we would have never thought that this stuff would be around. So my thing is, we're living in a society where some people love it, some people don't. But it is going to start impacting our lives, job wise, just how we interact with each other. How do you feel about AI? Do you think it's a welcome change? Are you nervous about the takeover of it? Do you think there's going to be another iRobot kind of situation where it goes rogue and controls people? How do you feel about it?
I am scared because, like I said before, you're going to get to the point where a video is going to pop up of some politician declaring war on another country, and this politician never said that. I mean, right now, be careful, people. When you got a number that shows up on your phone and you don't know who it is, be very skeptical about answering those phone calls. The reason why I say is what's going on is you'll say hello and you won't hear anything on the other end, and then it'll hang up on you. What they're doing is using AI to capture your voice. So what they'll do is they'll call back to, say, your spouse or your mother or father, and the voice will sound just like you, saying, I've been taken prisoner or hostage. They're saying they want $1 million or I'm going to die. And they know your voice. They're going to believe it's you. It's happening right now. And I mean, granted, if you listen and you know that there's no deviation in the voice, that this can't be real, but it's getting further and further advanced. You can get on there. Okay. I'll tell you this. I got a friend of mine. He's gotten very political lately, and he had a proposal that he wanted to bring forth to our Congress. He got AI, the chat box or whatever chat box, I don't know, whatever you call the thing. And he told it what his proposal was and if it would write up a, a bill for him. And he sent it to me. I swear to God, you would have think somebody in Congress wrote it. It had the verbiage in there, just like you would see in Congress. Kids are using it to do their homework.
Yeah.
College papers are being written. How do you know that next doctor that you go see didn't have all his college degree done by an AI
Oh, don't say
chatbot?
that, Kyle. Come on, man. Don't do that to me.
I'm telling you, man, it's getting to be that scary. And who knows? You know, history and history has a way of repeating itself. And a lot of times you watch a movie and it seems to be a prediction of what happens in the future. So maybe one day the robots and the computers decide they don't need us anymore. Hey, the computer can create a robot that can maintain it, and that creates another robot that can maintain that, and so on and so on. And what do they need us for?
Yeah.
So, don't know, man. It's something to think about. I don't want my life dictated by a computer, but it's getting more and more like that all the time. I mean, I watched Star Trek as a kid. You saw the crazy little devices that they used and the way they communicated, and you thought, oh man, that's way off in the future. But we're doing it now with cell phones. You have a computer in your hand. Those space shows, they held a computer in their hand and then they would tell the computer what to do. I thought, how in the heck can you just talk to something and it answers you and can do all this stuff? But it does it. So beware, folks. The guy that I talked to, he said, be very wary of all this AI technology because it's going to come back to bite us in the butt one day.
Yeah. No, you're 100%
Mhm.
right. I think, being in the younger generation, it's cool. Like for me, I grew up in kind of like the middle where I grew up playing outside, doing, human to human interaction, that type of thing. But also grew up in an era where a lot of people started having phones. The internet was a big thing. Social media was starting to really jump off. And for me, it's like a catch-22 for me because I look at it as cool. Like the way how I found how popular AI was. There's a store near uh my apartment in New York with my girl, and the guy at the store uh been friends for a while, and I was talking to him about my IMDb page and my website and stuff, and how I was, trying to clean up the words. And he said, "Yo, I got AI. Don't worry about it. Send it to me." So I literally just I copied, send it, texted him, and not even 2 minutes later, he sent me something that I couldn't even dream of writing. Like it was just so beautifully written. It was so professional, clean. I was like, "What the?" It took this thing 2 minutes, something that took me about 30 minutes to figure out and conjure up. So
Mhm.
it's, in that aspect, I do think it is cool, and one of the downsides is, yeah, like you said, a lot of students are using AI to cheat and all that stuff, which
It's
is
making us lazy.
100%. 100%. This is a channel, YouTube channel called Wired. If I believe that's the channel I was watching it. And what they do is they bring in professionals. So professional chefs, people who study dinosaurs and that type of stuff. But I was watching a series. The scientist came on with a bunch of robots, and this one robot she was talking about had like it didn't have human emotion, but she would pet it on the top, and it would make animal sounds. Like you pet a dog and it makes a sound, or a cat will meow. The robot was making sounds like it was like a person. Um, and she would, talk to it like it was Siri. Hey, robot, pick up this, and it would go, swing over there, pick it up, and bring it back to her. Uh, I mean, stuff like that, and it's getting to the point. Actually, now that we talking about it, there's a robot. I think it's called Lucy. It's like a humanoid. It's like a female robot. It is became popular. I haven't heard about her in a while, but she was created like 10 years ago. But she looks like a person, and it's a robot. It's a real
Hmm.
robot that I think that does media appearances and makes a lot of money. Doing the scientists who ever created made a lot of money with her. But that's the new thing. And I know Elon Musk came out talking about he wants to create a robot, which I'm not surprised if he does because he made Tesla, but he wants to create a robot that will do daily tasks for him. So, putting dishes in the dishwasher, washing dishes, uh, picking up the laundry, putting it in the washing machine, that type of stuff is going to happen. And the
Hmm.
downside to it, like you said, be wary, is it is going to impact jobs. It's impacting the entertainment industry right now. It's going to impact many other jobs. The
Yep.
need of, look at most grocery stores now. Yeah, there's still some chains that still have, high amount of, people doing customer service and stuff like that. But we're starting to see grocery stores and restaurants where robots are serving people. There's nobody at the
Hmm.
cash register no more.
Yep.
Um, everything is technology based now, which, like I said, is cool. I think for the young generation, that's what we grew up on. But at the same time, it's going to limit job opportunities as well. And I think that's the scariest part is the need. Your first job out of high school or during high school is fast food. Now, what happens when they tell you, hey, we got a robot. We only need two people instead of 30 because this robot is going to do most of the work now. And
Hmm.
that's the problem. That's the thing I'm afraid of is it's going to change. Well, going it is changing our society. And I think depending on your field, tech is one of the most hit ones right now because the need for tech is starting to dwindle because AI is taking over. You don't need people writing these long, drafts and proposals. You got AI to do that now. So
Yeah.
like I said, it's a catch 22 to everything. But do you think we will get to that point where um we're gonna have robots in the house?
Oh yeah. I think we're going to get to the point where it's going to be like that movie Wally, where people are just floating around in chairs and getting fat, and robots are doing everything for us. It sounds ridiculous, but I think it's really going to happen. And you know what? A lot of the writers that are on strike, they will admit to you that they use AI to write a lot of their scripts.
Oh, I wouldn't even put it past them.
And my wife and I were talking the other day about how the face technology that they're doing, they're going to copy an actor, make them whatever age they want to on screen, because you see they're already experimenting with that. They did that with Luke Skywalker in that Mandalorian series, made him look youthful, and they're doing that with Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, I heard. And so they'll have a database of all their uh, voice expressions and everything else. They won't even need voice actors or regular actors anymore.
Yeah.
So, we'll save money and just have the computer do everything for us. So you just need somebody to do the programming and whatnot. So, yeah, there'll be different jobs available out there, but that will fill up, and you won't need actors. You won't need that gopher on set anymore. You won't need the cameraman anymore because everything's on a computer.
Man, you're 100% right. And I was talking about that. I haven't addressed it, on the podcast until now, but it's definitely something that I see having a very detrimental effect. And I think one of the problems is, the celebrities, the ones that already have the money and have opportunities just at their hands and feet, they're not bothered by it because think about it for them. I know to the same effect you're talking about. where a lot of them are going to start digitally cloning themselves. So instead of a hard days of work, you're on set for 13, 14, 15 hours a day. Now you can use your likeness. You can sit at home and get paid.
Mhm.
Voiceovers is going to be a huge thing. You know what's crazy? And this how I knew that this was going to become a real serious thing. I was watching Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. He did an interview with Tony Ayo, and Tony Ayo said, I want you to play this song. It was called Straight Outta Compton that he did, with G Unit, his rap group, 20 years ago, and they digitally altered it to have Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. on there. And when
Mhm.
you listen to it, it actually sounds like they made that song, which that song didn't come out until like 10 years after they passed away. It is mind blowing to see. Like I said, it's cool in the aspect that, we're doing things that we never thought we can do. But to what you're saying, you know, we don't realize, we think it's crazy that, all this stuff is impossible. But we also thought about our robot the same way. And look what's happening
Mhm.
now. Terminator
Yeah.
2, same way. Skynet and all this stuff. We have technology now. At some point, like you said, that's the other downside. The government could keep tabs on you now. The technology could keep tabs on you now. Anything you say, we're gonna get to the point now. You can't get away with anything
No.
unless you unplug everything and go that route. Shout out to um uh what those people, the people that live in, they use no technology, nothing.
Oh, like
Amish,
the
the
Amish
Amish.
folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the only ones who's safe right now, because they still living that way. But even then, they're gonna be impacted by it too, because now they're gonna need stuff. You know, Houses are being built to be technology based. I watched this guy Yenis on YouTube. He does phenomenal house tours. But a lot of house tours now, a lot of new houses are being built. Eyeball scanners to open the door, fingerprints to open up things. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, it's crazy to see how technology is changing. Um, so let me ask you: do you think that this is it? Like, do you think we will ever get back to the point where we as people would go back to where it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, sitting down having a conversation, that human to human interaction? Do you think we're starting to slowly fade from that?
My feeling is, and I tell people this all the time when I go to the grocery store, when they got these self checkout lines, I hate those things. In fact, yesterday we had went to Walmart and there was no one at the register, so we had to go through the self checkout. And the manager was walking around, and I said, "Hey, man, how much do they pay cashiers here?" He said, $14 an hour. I said, "All right, do I get a $14 discount since I did all this myself?" And he laughed it off, but I was serious. I'm like, I come here for y'all to do this, not for me to have to work for you. But I like to go to the line where the cashier's at because I like the human interaction. I mean, you think about it, this whole pandemic kind of kicked things off with keeping keeping you 6 feet apart from each other, wearing a mask all the time. There was that loss of intimacy. Yeah, you got the intimacy with your family, but I I like meeting new people. And I mean, they do everything in the world to try to separate us. They're doing that at the grocery store as well, or a lot of places. I mean, there's no cashiers; it's all self service. I mean, we went to Costco. Okay, you get the app at Costco on your phone. You go and you scan everything that you put in your basket. When you finally are finished and you're ready to go, you before you get to the door, you hit a button. It's attached to your bank account, pays for everything. I mean, you didn't even have to sit there and scan it. You're ready to leave. I mean, did
Yeah.
you ever think that would come to that? I mean, good.
No.
When I was a kid, you went up, you put your stuff on the conveyor belt, and there was somebody there, and they were punching in the prices. And I mean, they were just as fast as those scanners. That's how good people were back then about punching in all the numbers. I mean, you still got to interact with someone. And even when they had the scanners for the checkers, you still got to talk to someone. How are we supposed to keep a good communication going amongst us? Teenagers, I see them sitting in the same stinking room, and they'd rather text each other than talk. You know, we would write notes at schools. Like, hey, I think you're cute. Do you think I'm cute? Yes or no? Would you like to go out with me? Yes or no? But now you can just text someone. You're hidden behind a screen. People get into arguments all the time, but they do it from a keyboard. I want that intimacy, the human contact, and I think we're slowly losing that.
Yeah. It's been I think the pandemic kind of sped it up a little bit, but once Instagram, Facebook, and all these social media platforms started taking over, it was kind of starting to end. And I was, this is something I saw, in 2018. I remember when I was working at this tennis place on Long Island right after college. I was working, with kids, during the summer camp, and man, I can't tell you how many 8, 9, 10-year-olds was walking up with these giant tablets and all this stuff. And they didn't want to play no sports at all. They didn't want to play, they didn't even know how to play dodgeball. I mean, but they knew, you give them a phone, they know how to, crack your code and go on TikTok, and I've seen it even with my little sister. She wouldn't want to read, but she knew how to do everything on the phone, which was nice. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like, what's happening now? People's uh, you know, education levels are going down. And now with AI, you don't have to work hard on that paper anymore. You could just, oh, all right, what's the topic? All right, let me come up with a couple words, and I can knock out 50, 60, 70% of this paper just by putting it in this chat box, which I'm not gonna lie, I used to cheat too, so I'm not too mad on that. But it is going to start affecting. And you bring up a good question. What about the doctors? The people who are, our lives is at their hands. What's going to happen with them when they start taking shortcuts? And I'm not saying they are, but at the same time, I'm hearing that they're going to, a doctor was talking about how they're actually starting to implement machines to help them in the operating room. So, I mean, like I said, it's going to, people don't realize this, but slowly, like you said, at Walmart and stuff like that, it's going to happen where jobs are going to become scarce. You're going to be competing for low paying, dead end jobs. Amazon started that whole trend of going to the store. You have a cart that has a tablet or whatever device is on it, and you sign into your Amazon account. And anytime you pick up something and you want to buy it, you put it in your cart and it scans it. And then, you literally just pay as soon as you're done and you walk out the store. So the only people working are the ones that's probably stocking the shelves, and maybe 1 or 2 people just to keep an eye on, make sure, if anybody needs assistance. But it's going to create a problem for many people to find work. One, jobs are going to look at it this way. Hey, I need a writer, but you know what? I don't need to pay you 150 grand. I have AI to help. So you know what? Instead of hiring 5 people, I only need 1. And instead of 150, I'll give you 90. I think that's a good salary. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, if you get the job, yeah, it might be good for you. But 1, you're not going to get the pay you deserve. 2, is going to limit the growth you can get because now you compete with technology. And then 3, many other people are not going to be able to work in their field. Think about college now. You're going to get degrees now that probably are going to start to mean nothing because now you're competing with technology. You're not competing against another Harvard graduate or another Yale graduate, you're gonna now competing with AI about who could do the job better. And 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna lose depending on the field you are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I agree with you on. We really need to really start talking about that because, you know, it's affecting people. The right now when inflation, all that stuff, how many people getting laid off constantly every day? The tech field is being blown out, from what it used to be. People aren't working as much as they used to, or, people getting fired because, like I said, now companies are looking at, we could pay you less. We don't need more help. We have AI. So unless you're willing to work with that and we could pay you less money, then you can have the job. Or if you don't want to do that, then, find something else. But I think ultimately, like I said, I think being young and enjoying the fruits of technology, I think, like I said, it's cool that you could literally do so many things with your phone. But in terms of your career and stuff like that, be careful. Especially for me, I already see it coming in Hollywood now, where the money is already starting to dwindle down. I'm seeing the pay for some of these projects. I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? You're a major corporation. You're paying this little, but it's because, like I said, they have the help at their disposal. So I would ask you this: do you think, because at this point AI, robots and all, it's inevitable. I mean, Tesla has proven, you can drive, your whole pretty much your whole a whole road trip from California to Texas, and it could drive your car for you. Yeah, I mean that's just what it is. And how do you think we need to go about it? Do you think we just need to just work with it? Because fighting against it at this point is just not going to happen. But do you think we just need to find a healthy balance of cohabiting with each other? And it's weird to say, humans
Yeah.
and technology cohabiting with each other, but it's here. So how do you think? What do you think the future is looking like for us?
Well, throughout time, man has always looked for an easier way of doing things.
Yeah,
You would go plow the fields. You just did it with whatever you had at your convenience. It might be a limb off a tree. And then all of a sudden somebody comes up with this machine that you can pull with the horse, and it makes it a lot faster for you. Well, then the next thing you know, you've got equipment that runs on gasoline that can do the plowing for you. And now they actually have equipment that you can just program and it can do it for you. You don't even need a driver in it anymore. So we've always looked for easier ways to do things. As humans, we just get lazier and lazier and lazier. And everybody wants the most convenient thing. Yeah, technology it's great. I mean, it's allowed me to start a show where I didn't need some producer out there to come find me and say, "Oh, would you like to do a radio show?" I can do it on my own and upload everything. I can do all the editing by myself. In that way, yeah, it's great. It's convenience, but I didn't have to work for it. You know what I mean?
yeah, it,
Um,
yeah,
so it's gonna happen because everybody's gonna say, "Look how convenient it is. Look how convenient it is." But do you want to exchange your freedoms in life for convenience or safety? I had that talk with Tarek the other day on our show. Is do you would you rather have uh freedom, or would you rather have peace? And I'll always say I'd rather have my freedom. Um, and you have to work for it. Uh, we don't have to work for hardly anything anymore.
yeah,
Everything's going to be run by the genius, the Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, the guy that doesn't have to use his muscles, just has to use his brain, that nerdy dude, he's going to end up running the world. And do you really need a strong man after that? Computers, robots, everything's going to do everything for you. I mean, heck, we'll probably be fighting wars with robots. We don't even have humans doing that anymore. Practically doing that with drones and things.
Yeah.
So it's going to boil down to what do you need a human here for anymore?
I remember what the hardest job I ever worked. I was in college. It was I worked at Chemical Farm, and the owner Mark. Hopefully he's doing well. I haven't seen him in a while, but that was the hardest work I ever done. One, because I grew up in an urban area, so working on a farm was not something I ever intended to do. But I remember I remember in the middle of summer, he got angry at us because he's like, um, I'm not trying to say that you guys don't put in effort, but we need y'all to pull you apart. I was a little salty when he said that, but he said one of the things he said, and it's something you said. He said, technology has made people lazy, and like I said, it's a catch-22. It's one of the things I heard from a scientist, the lady I was talking about who brought the robot on and was talking about it. One of the things that she did say that I do agree with is it's going to allow people to do less dangerous work. For instance, the bomb squad. A lot of those people, they're risking their fingers, their arms when they do stuff like that. Now you have a robot that can go in and do the work for you. So in a sense, in that aspect, and other dangerous lines of work, it is going to be beneficial to have that where you're not risking your life, where you can't see your wife, your children, your family anymore, for that. So now you have things to help you with that, which is cool. But like I said, there's also, like you said, it is making people lazier. You don't have now, you don't have to put in work to talk to people. And that's the craziest thing I've noticed. When I was working at my gym, it was mind blowing how many people would come up to me. Hey man, yo, you know that girl over there? You know her? Can you talk to her for me? Like, let's go over there and talk to her. But when it comes to Instagram, people know how to talk all day. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing I miss the most. I think I miss having those days where, going outside and playing, having fun, being around other people. Now it seems like people don't want to do that no more. I drive by fields now. I don't see anybody outside. When I go out, people text each other, but I'm like, you sitting right in front of me. Why you
Yeah.
saying that to me? That's the craziest stuff. It's like it's ruining our communication skills, our education, and our work ethic. But I
Mm-hmm.
also think we're gearing up to a time now where in the future, and when I say the future, it's coming soon. Probably in our lifetime, we're going to start seeing, especially at least the upper echelon of society, having robots and things to do work for you. So now you don't have to worry about working a 9 to 5. You might only be working one day a week, maybe two. You're gonna have something that does the work for you. So it's one of those things where it's going to happen. The conversation is not about ending it. The conversation is what are we going to do about it? But
Yeah.
it seems that most people are in agreement that let's bring it on, man. If I don't got to go to work every day, and I need the extra help, I can send a robot to do the work for me. Fine, I'll kick back, drink my beer, and call it a day. So I don't know what the future holds, but it's crazy to see that Tesla, for instance, is the new normal. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed, but most car manufacturers now are doing hybrid or electric cars now. I give it another 5, 10 years, and that's being generous, where you won't be able to get service for automatic or manual, well, let alone manual. I don't even think you can find a garage to do manual work on your car. But for automatic cars, gas cars, it's going to be hard now to find parts to get service for, because now most cars are technology based, computer based. So, mechanics don't have to prop your car up and do all the, that nasty work. Now they just plug it into a computer and they can find out the problem and solve it that way. It's an interesting time to say the least.
Did you ever watch that cartoon, The Jetsons?
Oh yeah.
So there was one episode, and I believe this is the words he said. I could be wrong, but we laughed at it. He says, "Man, these 8-hour work weeks are killing me." And I think 8-hour work weeks. I mean, we're used to working 40 plus, and he works in one week what we worked in one day. But it's actually getting closer to that, you know. And the day of the grocery stores or the convenience stores, all these things I think are going to disappear. You're going to have warehouses, and you're going to end up with a robot that's going to show up at your door and leave that package within probably within 30 minutes now. I mean, it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. What, as a kid, I'd send off for something in a catalog and it takes 6 weeks to get to my house. Now it's here the next day. Sometimes if I do it early enough in the morning, it's there
Same
that
day.
afternoon. So, and another thing, my wife, if she doesn't feel like doing the grocery shopping, she takes out her phone and she could just punch in what she wants, and we can either go by and pick it up at the grocery store or they deliver it. That just shows how lazy we are really getting. People were used to sitting at home and calling Grubhub, and they're bringing your food or whatever it is that you want. We just get lazier and lazier and lazier. And I mean, yeah, we invented all these technologies so we would have more leisure time, but our leisure time is making us weak.
Yeah. No, you hit it right on the head. First of all, I gotta say I'm guilty of that. I do order my food now, but it's also for me. It's not so. It's the convenience, and also, you know, I don't have that luxury of having a car to go pick stuff up, and then I have to. For me, when especially in New York, I gotta walk or take the train to the grocery store. I'm not trying to do all that. I'm not. I'm not.
I don't
And
blame you. I mean, like I said, it's convenience.
yeah, and the pandemic was the paradigm, the shifting point in society because the pandemic has changed the game for everything. Now, I was having a conversation with my buddy's mother, where even in the corporate world, in some of these corporations, finance and business, where there's a strict way of doing things. Now you're seeing more people at home working. More people are doing hybrid schedules, or they're working less days of the week. And I'm not gonna lie, it's impacting me too. I remember, for many years, I loved working 5 days a week. Now, if I can only work 2, 3 days a week, I am good. But also, to my credit, when I say 2, 3 days a week, I mean a day job. I still, do the acting and and this. But for me, I've seen how it made me a little bit lazier. But I also use that time to improve myself, to go out and meet people, work out, and do stuff. So I have a balance, with it. Some other people don't have a balance. I know people, as soon as they get off work, they go right on TikTok. Some people, they don't even cook. They don't even know how to make scrambled eggs. They order everything on DoorDash and stuff. And I think the pandemic has changed it, and I don't see it going back to anything different. And that's why, for me, I love talking to not your age, but people older. Because I mean, even you too, but the people in their 70s and stuff, in the 80s. I love hearing the stories of them talking about, if they like the girl, or if they have to send mail, they have to, walk and go to that person's door, and stuff like that. It was a different time. Now you have no excuse. Everybody has a phone. You're gonna check your text. You're gonna check your social media, email. Everything is at our disposal at all times. And it's weird now to say, if you don't have a phone, you're a weirdo. you know It was
Yeah.
the it's crazy. It's
I didn't
crazy.
I didn't get my first cell phone until I was in my mid 20s. We had a landline up until then. And now I don't know very many people that still have a landline other than maybe a business.
I
That's
will tell
crazy.
you know what's crazy? I only know one person, well, one family, my girlfriend's grandparents. They have a landline, but even
Hmm.
them, they're in their 80s, mid to late 80s. And even now, her grandmother, what she has a tablet and she doesn't get off of it. She's always on Facebook. Now she wants a smartphone. Um, and that's it's cool to see the older generation, really, get used to it and other stuff, really, because I think for the longest a lot of them was pushing it off. They were scared. Now you're seeing a lot of them, even people in their 80s want to get on Instagram and create content, and it's I'm not saying that in a negative way. I love that, like I said, the old generation is coming on, but I also like hearing from the ones that, don't use it and they say, I miss the old days of, going to a buddy's house and, drinking beer and just enjoying this, just having a conversation. Now, people don't want to do that no more. Just text me, or just call me, or just, video chat me. I ain't trying to leave. I ain't trying to go nowhere. And our society is starting to see the effects of it because, as someone whose career fields interacting with other people, is here, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, a little side note, but I think Apple's coming out with like this new $5,000 VR headset thing where you can watch TV and play video games on it. I mean, when that comes out next year, 2 years from now, I mean, people ain't gonna be leaving their houses no more.
No, jeez, man. I mean, it has its pluses, yes. I interviewed a musician the other day, and I brought up the fact that, when he first got into music, you had to get discovered by a record company and then get promoted, and you had to always be performing and making your music and all that stuff, and you had to really work. And now some kid can be in his bedroom and make up all the music that he wants on his computer. Doesn't need a band or anything.
Nope.
Come up with his own lyrics, and if he raps or sings or whatever, and put it all on a computer, and he can upload to Spotify or any of these streaming services. And if you get discovered, you get discovered, but you either have to get out there and be on tour or sell the merchandise. It's not record sales and CD sales are going to make you money anymore.
Nope, not a shot. Not a
So
shot.
yeah, it has its pluses. I say I have the convenience of being in my office and doing my podcast, and I can upload to YouTube and all the other platforms that I want to. And if people want to listen, I become successful. Whereas I had to been discovered and put on a radio show in the past. So yeah, you got your pluses, but got your minuses as well.
Right now it's starting to look like the minuses are starting to outweigh the positives. And I only say that because it's going to impact jobs. If it wasn't going to impact jobs in that way, I wouldn't mind. But I love acting. I don't want to do anything else besides that. Obviously, podcasting, but that's what I want to do. And even now, I'm starting to see how that's going to change, and it's going to be less work, less opportunities, and like you said, music too, where a lot of musicians are going to have trouble copyrighting their material because now AI could come in, switch a couple things up. It's not yours, this is our own original, and we're seeing that. And what's crazy? Tupac, for instance, I know Tupac is beloved. Now they're doing performances of him, like a hologram type of thing, where you
Yeah.
could have a whole concert of someone digitally altered, and people pay good money to go do that. So the days of concerts, all that stuff is going to be gone. And someone asked me a question recently about theater. about acting, where now you can even create your own acting because everything is going to be digital. You know, you could get the
Mhm.
software and create your own project, upload it, submit it to Amazon and all these other studios, and you don't need me. You know, you got your computer, the technology to do it. I mean, most movies now are heavily CGI, you know,
Mhm.
and like I said, I think it's cool, but it's also ruining the movie theater experience because now a lot of movies don't really come to the movies anymore. Everything's just going streaming because they know unless they got big blockbuster CGI things going on, people aren't going to watch it.
Think
But
about the stunt man. You won't even need a stunt man anymore. You
nope,
know, and okay, let's say somebody in Prince's family owns the rights to his music, and then one day decides, you know what, I think I want to make more money off of Prince. So, hey, chat bot or whatever the hell the program's called, um, here's Prince's voice, make a new song for him. And he makes a hit song using his voice, and boom, someday there won't be any Beatles left. And somebody's going to say, I sure would love to hear a new Beatles song. Boom. Here's AI making you a new Beatles song. The Rolling Stones. And you name any band out there. Eventually, it will be able to do it for you. And as you said, I've actually seen concerts where the lead singer has passed away, but they have a hologram of him on stage and people are enjoying it. So yeah, you got your definite pluses, but I see it being our demise.
yeah, the demise of humanity as we know it. But hopefully, I try to, I do see a positive. I do think there are certain things about it that's going to be beneficial to society. But I do think we're going to be living in a Jefferson's type of environment where, flying cars, people don't really work much. They have robots that do all the work for
Oh,
them. That's good,
Jetsons.
Jetsons, yeah, yeah. That's going to be the new normal, and it's coming sooner than we think. Like I said, Teslas weren't a thing 10 years ago. Look at them now. Most people, in New York, I'm seeing Teslas more than I used to see Mercedes Benz when I was a kid. That was like the car back then. Now, you know, I saw, one of the guys I did a Jubilee video with, he did a whole series on Instagram where, and that's how I came up with the California, Texas story. But he did a whole vlog of him driving when he moved from LA to Texas, where he's sitting in his Tesla, he's playing video games right there, and he's not driving. I saw videos of people sleeping in the back of their car while their car is driving. Now, I don't know if I trust technology that much yet, but
Don't.
you
I will
know,
say don't, because I have a friend who his kicked in the middle of his wife driving, and it ended up wrecking his Tesla. So
oof,
beware.
yeah. But you know what? That's because people are getting comfortable with it, and you know, that's Elon created such breakthrough technology with that. Now, a lot of cars have features like that now where it's self-drivable. You can literally just kick back, relax, have a conversation, drink beer, have a good time. And, as long as as soon as it says, hey, take the wheel and you're able to, you can chill for most of the drive. And, it's one of those things where, like I said, I'm looking forward to the future, but I hope that we as people can find a common ground. Although I don't see that happening. I think we're just overly too reliant on technology to the point of no return. So, you know, um, but this has been an amazing conversation. I think we're approaching almost 2 hours with this.
Yeah.
But this is not the end, my friend. This is not the end because I'm gonna have AI digitally clone your voice, and I'm no,
Won't need me no more. I'm out the door.
get Kyle out of here. Get him out. um, but no, this is a really good episode. I like having conversation like this. Like I said, I'm getting tired of talking about, police killing innocent people and the politics and all. I want to stay away from that. I want to, do stuff that people can relate to and enjoy. And like I said, we can have fun with this. Some of this stuff a little serious, but we can have fun with it. But Kyle, where people can find you, and even though I've had you on already, but where can people find you, find your work, and check out your podcast and all that good stuff?
America's Most Wanted and the FBI's Most Wanted list.
Same. FBI.
No,
I'm in the top 10 for most charismatic, most wanted people. So I get you on that.
no. If you will go to YouTube and look up the Vibes broadcast, that's where you can find me there. I have my Kyle Coyote Yates page on Facebook, and it's, God, to be honest with you, it's been so long since I've been on social media. I don't even remember all of my social media pages. I have a listen to the Vibes page on Instagram, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
there's a underscore on each of those. Good Lord. Well, if you go to my YouTube page or YouTube channel and you look at any of the videos, the list of all of my social media is on there. How's that?
Yeah, that's
Well,
how it is nowadays.
you can find us on Spotify and iHeartRadio. I'm on Odyssey. I'm on Rumble. Just about anywhere you listen to a podcast, you can find us. Google, Apple, yada yada yada.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're a great guy, and you interview some really nice people, some really awesome people, people many people might have watched, listened to, have seen on TV of some sort. So you do a lot of great content, and I was glad to be a guest because I had a good time, and it's always good to have you on here. It's always
Thank you.
the vibes. You get what I did there. You like that? Uh,
Great vibes, man. Great vibes.
Most definitely. But I know everybody's a little tired at this moment. 2 hours in. This is going to be it's going to be a two-part because I know how things be going nowadays. So this is going to be a two-part episode. So if you made it to the end, thank you. Kyle's always amazing to have you on. You'll be back on, I'm sure. We're going to talk more about AI because that's not going anywhere. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson, if you're listening, I'm still going to be emailing you because we got some things to hash out. And like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. Give a hand to Kyle, feeling the vibes, Yates.
And please ask Catherine Zeta Jones to quit messaging me. My wife's getting jealous.
Oh, she blocked me. So
I still love you, girl.
well, let's end it before the wife finds out, right?